Can ChatGPT or Bard do sound design? What do I mean by that? Let me explain a little bit. I know that these two are just basically text-based AIs, but what do I mean by sound design? Can I actually describe a sound that I have in my mind and ask them for precise settings that I can just dial into my synth and have the sound done? Is that even possible? I'm BusyLess and we're going to check that out. Let's go. Well, the first sound I have in my mind will be an ethereal pad sound, and the other one will probably be like an aggressive bass. Let's try to recreate them asking AI. So I've set myself a little workspace here. I have the Ableton on the left side and AI on the right side. So let's start with the Bard. Let's ask him some questions. We'll see what's going to happen. Can I ask you for a sound that I have in my mind, and you will provide me with a precise settings inside one of the Ableton synthesizers? I want precise settings that I can dial in myself to achieve the sound that I want. So the sound that I want would be an ethereal pad, long and evolving and really delicate. I meant delicate, really. Okay, I have this one typed in. Let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so it's trying to give me like a general kind of answer. Sure, I can help you to achieve the sound for a long, evolving, delicate pad using a synthesizer. Here are some general guidelines, but the exact settings will vary depending on the specific synthesizer you're using. Also, there is a sawtooth or triangle wave for warm, mellow sound. You can add a little sine wave to add some smoothness. Okay, so we have these general guidelines. Do we have any precise settings? Okay, here's a specific example of setting for a synthesizer called Serum. Okay, very good. I think I specified I want to set it in Ableton, but okay. Okay, I didn't specify in Ableton. Okay, well, let's try something stock from Ableton. Can you give me the settings for a wavetable synth from Ableton? Synth. Okay, so we have some settings. Let's find out what's that going to be about. So oscillator 1, oscillator 2, filter, modulation, LFO, effects. Okay, cool. Makes kind of a little bit sense from the first point of view, but okay, let's go. Let's get wavetable. So now, first wavetable bell. Do you have a wavetable that is called bell? Probably not. Okay, so let's find something that resembles a bell sound. So we have this basic shapes. We go to harmonic series. There's something that will probably resemble a bell wavetable. Okay, tune 440 Hz. Well, obviously we're not changing that. Wavetable position halfway through. Okay, perfect. Detune -001. So let's do like -1 cent probably. Okay, doesn't change much. Phase 05. There's no phase actually to change here. The octave -1, so -12 semitones. Now oscillator 2, sine wave. Okay, there we have it. Wavetable position halfway through. Well, it's not going to be sine wave anymore. So I guess it doesn't know what it's talking about. Detune 001. So let's say 1 cent. Phase octave 1. So let's go up an octave then. Okay, filter. Low pass. 4 kilohertz. Resonance halfway through. Cutoff envelope. Okay, so let's design envelope number to attack 0.3 seconds, K 500 milliseconds, sustain 0.7 seconds. It's not in seconds, sustain is in like percent, so let's go for like 70, okay? And then release 1 second. So it's already probably not guessing the values properly, so it doesn't know what it's talking about, but let's continue. We'll see what's gonna happen. Now modulation, and this is an envelope that we need to use on the frequencies. Doesn't change much though. Modulation LFO1, rate 0 Hz, depth 0 target wavetable position of which? I guess it's just guessing the things, but let's do this. LFO1 to oscillator 1 position, maybe oscillator 2 position as well, why not? Maybe the other way around. Doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah. Now LFO2, if we need it for something, rate 1 Hz, depth 30%, target pulse width modulation LFO2. That's interesting, that's cool. We didn't even touch the amp envelope at all, and it doesn't sound like a pad at all now. It's cool, it's kind of formal, but it is evolving, so it kind of ticks the box, but it doesn't sound like a pad. I will have to design an amp envelope, so let's help it a little bit. Okay, let's ignore that it didn't know what he's talking about. Okay, that's cool. So let's add reverb. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. And now delay. Okay, so kind of knows what he's talking about, but not till the end. Okay, so now let's try something different. Can you now give me a new sound idea? I'm looking for an aggressive bass, gritty and dirty, made in Ableton Drift synthesizer. Let's check how does that work. Sure, here's a sound idea for aggressive, greedy, and dirty bass using Ableton's wavetable synth. Again, I'll ask for the drift synth. I meant... Okay, let's redo the settings in analog synth then. Shape triangle, detune 005. Now see, these values kind of make sense a little bit. Tune, will not be changing tuning. Phase 05. There's no phase to choose anyway. Octave 2. Okay, we can choose octave 2. Perfect, yeah. Now, oscillator 2, salted wave. Okay, so that wasn't a triangle. There's no triangle in Basic, so we'll have 2 salted waves. Now, phase 01, detune 005 again. So if they two detune the same way, it won't make any difference. But okay, let's do it like that. Octave 1. Okay, we have some sounds here. Oscillator 3. Well, there's no oscillator 3. It has a sub-oscillator, waveform pearls. Oscillator 4. No, there's no that many oscillators. Okay, let's skip the part. It clearly doesn't know what it's talking about. Maybe it does know what it's talking about, but it doesn't know any of the Ableton synths. Okay, so let's jump into ChatGPT and see what's going to happen. Now, let's do the same with a ChatGPT. I'm using the free ChatGPT 3.5 version. You can log in, you can just use it the same way as I do. Now, let's type the same prompt. Now we will precise this time. Doesn't matter which one is it, as long as it's one of a stock from Ableton. That's another layer of test. Doesn't know any of the Ableton's synthesizers. Let's send it. Okay, ChatGPT. Open it in live and create new video track. Oh, we have an instructions how to do everything. Perfect. Do you have settings? No, I don't need a go-to. I need the settings. I need an exact of oscillators, envelopes, LFOs, filters in milliseconds. Let's send it. Okay, wavetable synthesizer. We have one oscillator, we have envelopes, we have LFO. Okay, makes sense. Okay, let's try. Wavetable synth. Okay, waveform, sine. Voices, 4. Well, I guess if we're using one oscillator, we can use a 4 voices here. Unison on. Okay, that makes sense. Classic. Detune 5%. I really like it. Cool. 150 milliseconds. That's the amp envelope. Decay 300. Sustain 50%. Okay, then release 5,000 milliseconds of 5 seconds. Okay. Filter low pass. Cutoff frequency around halfway through. So that's like 10 kilohertz. And then resonance 0. Didn't change probably much. When I release, I still hear the sound for next 5 seconds. LFO 1, rate 0.1 Hz. I like slow LFOs. LFO amount 10%. Now, what will I do with this LFO now? I don't know. Didn't precise anything. Let's ask. Enter. Apologies for not specifying. LFO source to the filter cutoff frequency. Okay, frequency LFO 1. Let's do like that. Let's go. Whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't change much, but it does evolve the sound a little bit. Okay. Okay, cool. So actually not so bad. Okay, let's try with the bass. I'm gonna stick to the drift synthesizer for now. I have a purpose in that because it's free in every Ableton version, so including Ableton Intro, Standard, and Suite. Can you now give me a sound idea? I'm looking at sound settings. Let's be more precise. For an aggressive bass, gritty and dirty, made in Ableton Drift synthesizer. Perfect. Operator. Well, I wanted a drift. Okay, let's specify. Okay, I want it in a drift synthesizer. Do you know it? My last knowledge update in January 2022. Okay, so the ChatGPT has a little bit cut off. So I'm assuming that, yeah, the drift was released a little bit later, so it doesn't have it in the database. So then an analog. the settings. It doesn't really matter which synthesizer are we using for, as long as we have kind of similar settings to dial in. So try to do it in Drift. We can do a third oscillator, which would be sub-oscillator, but we can maybe add that later as a layer. Okay, but first, I'll tell you what, saw to wave, perfect. Detune, 10 cents. We can't detune this one, but we can detune the other one, -10. Let's detune only one. I'm afraid if we go -20 cents, it's going to be too dissonant. Well, let's keep it -20. -0.2. Okay. Do we have anything about octaves? No, we can go down an octave on our keyboard, which is greasy and dirty already. Perfect. Can make that louder here. Sub-oscillator, we don't have it now, okay, but let's leave it like that. Filter envelopes. I don't have anything about amp envelope. We're gonna ask then. Okay, but let's do filter envelope. Okay, we have the envelope here. We can use it as filter envelope. Attack 10 milliseconds, decay 300, sustain 50%, and release 100 milliseconds. So you see all these settings are really nicely translating to the Drift synthesizer. If we design all the envelopes and filters, everything, let's plug it in first. We have the envelope 2, modifying the frequency. Overdrive effect. I'm going to do it quickly. Drive 70, tone 50, dynamics 50. It doesn't even know the settings that are actually in the overdrive. EQ 8. Cut the low frequencies below 100 Hz. We're doing a bass sound. We're cutting everything below 100. Okay. Not so sure about it, but maybe. Let's have a look. Boost the mid-range frequency around 800 Hz for extra grit. Okay, like so. Okay. Cut high frequencies above 8 kHz. Okay, perfect. Add a saturator effect. Drive 80%. There's no such thing as to go 80%. Will we go that far? Let's go that far. That's around 80%. Okay, let's go. Output 0 dB. I'm afraid about my ears now, but let's slap a limiter just in case. Okay, let's go ceiling -2 because we're going to be hitting the ceiling now. I don't want to press the key now because it's going to be loud. And do we have any other info? Color, adjust the taste, output 0. Okay, let's we are hitting really hard. That's really, really loud. So let's turn it down a tiny bit. It is greasy and it's mean, and yeah, it is what is meant to do. Finally, add a compressor at the end of a chain to control dynamics. So we have really cool and interesting guidelines on what to do. Do they make sense? They do a tiny bit, actually. We're getting the sound that we ask for. Maybe not precisely what I was having in my mind, but we're going to talk about it later why. Ratio 4:1, attack 10 milliseconds and release 50 milliseconds. Threshold, adjust to control the level. Okay, we don't really need it too much, but okay, let's. Okay, well, okay, let's leave it like that, I guess. What I meant to do before is to add that sub-layer. Okay, so let's duplicate the drift, group it first, duplicate sub-layer, square -1 octave. Okay, so this first one was meant to be actually 0, and this has to be -1 octave. Volume max. Okay, I didn't see that coming. Let's go, volume max, volume max. This is gonna be crazy now. It is really resonant and really heavy. I guess a bit too heavy. Let's go down an octave on my keyboard. That's heavy. That's gritty. Yeah, I kind of like it. Does what I ask it for. Let's destroy the sound completely. Okay. It is really hard and really heavy, and well, kind of like it. Okay, so ChatGPT kind of knows what it's talking about. It knows the devices, except for the drift, which was added later, because the ChatGPT's database is older. But let's test out one more thing. Can we recreate the sound? Let's say I want to recreate The Weeknd, Blinding Lights. There are cool lead keys. Do you remember that? Just Google it up or play it on Spotify. You'll see what I mean. Very characteristic, quite simple, probably sawtooth wave. So let's ask ChatGPT quickly and let's dial in these settings. Can you recreate keys in the patch that we hear in the song Blinding Lights by Weeknd in Ableton's analog synth. Okay, we have an answer. Sure, I can help you recreate the synth sound. Okay, Ableton's analog synth. Please note that while I can provide a starting point, replicating a specific sound exactly may require an additional fine-tuning. So let's grab an analog here. So oscillator 1, sawtooth waveform, perfect. Oscillator 2, square waveform. Detune the oscillator slightly to create a richer sound. That should do perfect. Choose a low-pass filter, set the cutoff frequency around 600-700, resonance to add character. Let me remind myself, how does that song go? Okay, let's go an octave higher. Envelope scrape, and an amplitude envelope with short attack around 10 milliseconds, okay. And decay 0.3 seconds, sustain around 50% is a good starting point. A release around 300 milliseconds, so 0.3. Doesn't really sound that well at all. So let's see, effects. Apply chorus or phaser, okay, chorus. We have a little bit. Do we need to change anything? Add some reverb for depth and space. Experiment with filter envelope setting to shape the sound further. Tweak the filter cutoff and resonance to get the right tone. Well, that's basically it. Okay, let's play with a little bit. So let's do our own filter envelope. Okay, I'm just changing some parameters, but it doesn't really sound all that well. Okay, so, well, I guess it kind of also failed this one. Even though it could provide me with some settings, it kind of sounds similar. Let me check back again. Let's go even an octave higher. It's kind of better now, I guess, with the unison. No, it's nothing like it. It's kind of similar, but it doesn't really sound all that well and similar to the sound. So, sorry, that doesn't work either. And as I probably should mention, that these settings are probably somewhere in the internet because somebody has already dialed that in and just tried these settings, post them on a website, and that's how the ChatGPT knows the sound from somewhere. We can, of course, use it for learning sound design, just asking general questions, how to design a bass sound in a synth, particular synth. Maybe we're going to give you proper advice, but more often than not, probably we're safer just learning the synths by ourselves. So obviously, ChatGPT or Bard, they can't hear sound. And the only thing they can base off is an internet database. And they are actually designed, if they don't know the answer, they will just usually hallucinate and create something kind of similar just to make you happy that they gave you any answer. That still doesn't make sense. There are two plugins that you probably might have heard about already. One of them is Synplant 2, that can recreate the sound by dragging a sample in it. It's really cool and it does a really good job. And the other is Micromusic, something very similar, and it's free. And you can use it combined with devices and only on Windows though. But these are actually really good in recreating sounds from a sample. That's cool AI, that works kind of well already. But as I mentioned, what I wanted to achieve is to describe the sound first, if I have it in my mind. So that's not working this way. It could be a good starting point if you get these settings in, but then you have to do your own work and just to make the sound that you really have in your head. So the job of sound designer is safe for now. I think it would be much easier just to learn and master a synth because it's all about a creativity and about the character that you want to achieve. So master it 100%, and then you will be able to recreate any sound within like literally minutes. Now tell me, where would you like to go from here? Would you rather like to learn drift or wavetable? It's up to you. Now, thanks so much for watching. See you guys in the next video. Cheers.